Okay, well, thank you for, I'm not gonna stand just because I'm gonna reference and write little
That sounds
notes and
good.
stuff like that. So can you guys hear me okay? Okay, perfect. So, as we were saying, I'm with Compassionate Care Hospice. I am a nurse, and a hospice liaison. I've been doing hospice care for, a total of, 12 years. My role in the organization is to come out and do education like this, but also I'm that first face when, in many cases, not all cases, but when someone wants to talk about hospice care. So I'm the scary hospice lady that goes out and discusses what hospice care is. And really what I'm doing is trying to help people understand how to prepare best for end-of-life care. So with that, I'm a storyteller, as I was saying earlier. With that, I have met thousands of people that have done their families the best service in the world and have done an advanced care directive. It is also called a living will. It's also called 5 wishes. These things can be interchangeable. And for those families that have done one, they have given the best gift to one another that they can, because they've made their own decisions for themselves. For those that have not made a decision, I have watched some pretty terrible horror stories of, I was sharing with Sue and Heather about a recent situation where I had, a woman that was not able to make her own decision, and family members that were all fighting back and forth with what they thought should happen. And unfortunately, the patient passed without any end-of-life care, which is just not a good thing. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about how to fill this out. I like to make it super easy for you and not scary. So if I say anything, ask, interrupt, and we'll be good to go, okay? Okay, so the advanced healthcare directive that I have provided is approved by the state of Delaware. Delaware is awesome because it does not require this document to be notarized.
Oh,
it just requires that it's witnessed. So it needs to be witnessed by 2 individuals over the age of 18. If you look at the bottom of this page, they cannot be related to you. See, it says about the witnesses. They cannot be a beneficiary of your estate. They can't have a claim against your estate. So, like your mortgage company couldn't be a witness. They can't have any direct financial responsibility for you.
And that eliminates banks and credit unions.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
If somebody's in a nursing home, then you have to get the ombudsman involved, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So here's what I say for your witnesses. Know they're over 18, they can be friends and family, but they have nothing to do with your estate and your personal effects.
So like no spouses.
No spouses,
Mm-hmm.
okay? I could witness for any of you. You could witness for any of them, as long as they're not family and you're not.
Not
Gonna
mother
benefit,
and daughter
not-
who are on the screen.
Correct. Okay?
Yes.
Make sense?
Yes.
So easy enough. So in the state of Delaware, it needs to be witnessed by 2 individuals. And then, of course, whoever this is for needs to sign it, okay? Once this is completed, and I'm gonna go through it, not line by line, but I'm gonna go through it, then you're going to give a copy to the person you name as your decision maker. You're going to keep a copy in your own effects, and then give a copy to your doctor. Okay? To your primary care doctor. And we'll talk about that why later. With me so far, ladies?
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. All right, so let's go through this. So that is part 1. Okay, so the power of attorney for healthcare. Let's keep in mind that an advanced care directive only goes into effect if I am unable to make my own decisions. This does not apply if I can talk to you just like I'm talking right now, okay? I can make my own decisions. So the only time this happens if I can't speak for whatever reason, if I'm cognitively impaired, a dementia patient, something like that. If I am of sound mind and I can make my own decisions, I don't need this document. Okay? To reference it. With me? So what you're gonna start is you're gonna pick a person that is gonna be your, what they call power of attorney for healthcare. This has nothing to do with money, okay? And who will be that person? Well, it can be anybody that you know will make the decisions that you want. And that's really important because we tend to say, well, I'm gonna let that be my spouse or my son or my daughter. And I'm gonna use you, Maria, as an example. Let's say that Judy decides that she's gonna name you to do this. Well, you may not agree with what she puts in here, and you may have a hard time emotionally because it's mom. You know what I mean? To do that. And I don't know if that's the case or not, but some relationships are like that. So you gotta be really careful. Whoever that is, you know that that person's gonna honor your wishes. Okay? And it might be your best friend, it might be your spouse, it might be your son or daughter. But if your son is, you know, let's say you have an autistic child, well, you're clearly not gonna do that. Does that make sense? The importance of that? Okay. The other good thing that you need to do for the power of your healthcare decision maker is talk to them. Tell them, ask them. And here's another story, because I'm a story girl, as I said. I went on vacation with my brother and sister-in-law and our families, and in the middle of it, he just decides to tell me that I'm his decision maker. I'm like, oh, okay, what about your wife? And he goes, no, she's too emotional, you can do this. And I'm like, but I don't know what you want. He goes, sure you do. I don't want to be different than that now. And I'm like, no, let's talk about this. And so we did, and now I'm clear, but I'm like, see, that's not fair. You never talked to me about that.
Right.
So, and it's my own brother, I could have throat punched it, but I did. So anyway, so on this first page, you got a question?
I was just waiting. We just gained 2 more participants.
Oh,
Great.
yay,
Hi
welcome.
Jackie, hi, Danielle was here too, I don't know where she's at.
She kind of, there was a thing that dropped on the
Yeah.
okay.
Question,
Yeah.
when you became the person for your brother, did you also talk to his wife?
Oh, yeah, she was there.
Okay, good.
Yeah, and she said, no, I don't want to do this. I was like, okay, as long as we're all on board.
Yes.
But neither of us were. Okay, so this first page, you would, if you're gonna fill it out, it would say I and your name, and then it would say the county in Delaware that you live in. If you move, you can make a new form. You can always fill out a new advanced care directive and update it. Yes?
I do have a question. Because 3 of us live in Maryland, and
Yeah.
also Danielle has a hand raised too.
Okay, then I can get you the Maryland ones.
Yes, so we
I
will
was
need
gonna
the
say,
Maryland.
does it differ a lot?
Well, this says Delaware.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, so we will need the Maryland ones eventually, but yes, we can certainly practice with this. And
And
Danielle,
it's virtually the same.
hi Danielle,
Hey, I was just letting y'all know I was here.
thank you,
Welcome.
thank you. And Jackie's here too, I saw her for a hot second.
Okay.
Yeah, then.
So on this form, you would fill this first part out as who the designation would be. You can also put a successor. So it would be, for example, maybe my oldest son and then my youngest son, you know?
Mhm.
And then if you flip, and you don't have to have a successor, but if you flip it over, then it says, well, at what point are you gonna have 2 people make this decision? Are they doing it together, independently? How are they doing it? Okay? You can choose to do whatever it is, but just keep in mind if you have more than one person, then you have 2 people with 2 opinions trying to make a decision on what you're doing. So, not advising you either way, but when you have more people, it becomes a little bit more complicated.
I have one other question.
You ask away.
Do you have this form in Spanish?
Yeah, I think I did.
Okay.
Are most of them available online?
Yep.
Okay.
You just go to the state and just say,
Yeah,
state
you
approved
use the
advanced care
Delaware
directive.
one.
Some states, Pennsylvania requires notarization.
And it's important to make sure you go to .gov and not some other.
DACA. I'll get these for both. Do you have people in PA?
No,
Okay, so
No.
just Maryland and Delaware.
Maryland and Delaware, and then, yes, the Delaware one in Spanish if you
Got
can.
I'll get them all. Okay. So after you've chosen who that is, and number 2, it says the authority of the agents, this is letting them know what they're able to do. So they can provide the admission to a hospital or a nursing home. They can enter into agreements regarding my care. They can do surgical procedures, psychiatry, med releases, a DMOS, which is the Delaware Medical Orders for Scope of Treatment, which means that if I get into an ambulance and I am going somewhere, this document applies in the ambulance as well. So you can choose what you want, but keeping in mind, as you fill out this form, the reason you fill out the form is because I can't make my own decisions because I'm incapacitated for some reason. So I need somebody to do this for me, okay? Limiting it would limit my care, okay? Again, touch base with what we're doing here. If you go to page 5, it's talking about releasing medical information. That agent can release your medical information to another facility or another doctor for you, okay? So I'm literally giving everybody, that one person, all of my power of attorney to do everything with me for my health care, because I can't do it myself. With me? Okay. So, and there's a lot of HIPAA information in here. I'm not gonna go through all that because I know you guys wanna do this in your free time. So, part 2, end of life decisions. Okay, let's talk about this. We were chatting earlier, we all come into this world and we all go out. The best thing we can do is plan what we want and communicate with our loved ones what our wishes are. So with my brother, he wanted me to make his decisions, but I didn't know what those were. So it's okay to have those conversations. Sue and I, we were talking earlier that people are afraid and used to be afraid to have end of life conversations. You don't talk about death and dying like you don't talk about religion and politics, right? Well, it doesn't mean that we're not gonna die. We all are. So let's just get on the same page. And unfortunately, it's not when I'm 80 years old. We need to talk about this now, today, because tomorrow's not promised. So it doesn't have to be a doom and gloom thing. It's just like, hey, listen, let's just talk about this straightforward, what I would want, and it's okay. So if you do, in part 2, it says if you do not wish to make your own wishes at this time, then skip this. Well, we're assuming that you're doing it because that's why you're filling out the form, right? So, going to the next 2 pages. So we're now on page 6, qualifying condition. And as we go through, there's different things. There's if I'm terminally ill, if I'm permanently unconscious, and then I think the other one is I'm serious or fragile. So your definition can be different, and that's okay, of what you want. So I have a terminal diagnosis. I can't make my own decisions. This is asking, option 1 is my agent, whoever I named, will make all my decisions for me, okay? And on here, it's going to talk about what I would want or what I wouldn't want. So CPR, okay? CPR is when they're doing mouth-to-mouth and chest compressions. Typically, people might say, I want that, but let's just keep in mind that it is not pretty. You're breaking bones, and if I'm at the point that my heart dies and one of you lovely ladies are going to do chest compressions, The odds of me coming out as I am right here, right now, at this moment, are about 45 to 50%. Okay, so there's that. Ventilator, breathing machine. Now remember, we're talking about I have a terminal illness. Terminal meaning there's no cure. Okay. Dialysis, surgeries, blood transfusions, chemotherapy or radiation, artificial nutrition, which may include, tube feedings, or antibiotics. So I do not want any of those. Some people will check all of them. Some people say, well, I want everything, but give me an antibiotic. It's your choice. You do what you want. This is related to a terminal illness. Okay, yes, ma'am.
There was a time when a patient had to have IV fluids. Is that no longer the case?
It's no longer the case. If you're in the hospital, okay? And that's not considered life support.
Right. At the time,
It's
I think it
considered
was
comfort
considered
care.
human.
Yeah, comfort care. You don't have to. Usually they just do it in there if you end up going in there. But if you have a terminal and you've decided that you're not doing anything, they pull the IVs, typically. Okay,
So if they're doing morphine, it's just a shot.
or they can do sublingual.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It depends on what's most comfortable
Mhm.
for that patient, but once a patient goes on hospice, we want to get all that out of them.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? It's uncomfortable.
Right.
Okay, good questions. All right, let's flip to the next. This will say, now I do not want, so the first part was I do want to prolong life. Let's do these things. Now it's I do not want to prolong life, and we're talking about the same things. Okay? Read that a couple times to yourself and think about what you're talking about. I have a terminal illness. What do I want to do? I'm not able to make my own decisions. And I'm going to say that over and over and over again, because people are, as you look at it, you may say, well, what if you can't make your decision? You can't speak. What do you want them to do? Okay? All right, so permanently unconscious. I'm in a coma. Do you remember the story of the Terry Schiavo down in, where was it? In Florida. Yeah, she was permanently unconscious. There's no coming out of that. She can't make her own decisions. It's going to ask for the same questions. If I were permanently, that does not mean I'm in a medically induced coma. It means I'm not coming out. There's probably brain dead, something like that.
It's medically determined that
Correct.
there is no.
There's nothing going on. Exactly. Okay. All right, we're going to go to the next page. Serious illness. Now we've got some things to talk about, because a serious illness can be a whole lot of different stuff. Okay, so I could be, heaven forbid, in a car accident and be seriously ill, have to go in a medically induced coma because I have brain swelling, have to have, a tube feeding because I can't feed for myself. There's a lot of different changes. So you got to look at that information. And that's where me and my brother were having a conflict, because he's like, well, I don't want to come out any different. I'm like, but wait a minute. What if you have to do tube feeding just to get you through a couple weeks? Well, I would want to do that. Well, now we're talking about something different. Okay, so this is going to talk about what you do want. And if it's a serious illness or frailty, I'm just old, you may want some of these things. Maybe religiously you don't want to do transfusions. Maybe you never want to do chemotherapy. This is your decision. The other thing that when a loved one is in the hospital, they're going to talk about a full code and a DNR. A full code means that that person would like everything done. I want it all. So they don't have this document. I want it all. They're a full code. So you're gonna do chest compressions and do everything to keep me alive. A DNR is a do not resuscitate, and it means that if my heart were to stop, it would be a natural passing. Okay? If you have nothing, the hospital will assume you're a full code.
Oh, okay.
Okay?
You can wear DNRs now, can't you? They have bracelets that are DNRs.
So that's a little controversial.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Of
so.
course, I always rely
So
on medical
I've
shows.
had some hospitals honor that and some hospitals don't because unless it has like your identification on it,
Okay.
how do you know whose it is?
Right.
You know,
The medical, because, yeah, mine has all my allergies on it, but
right, but it
Yeah.
doesn't, I don't know whose that is.
yeah, you don't know who's it is.
Right,
Okay.
So,
and what if that falls off?
yes,
You know?
you do,
So
yeah.
although a great idea, there's
What do
no
you
way
like?
to identify who that is, so I've seen some challenges.
But it would spark a question.
It may spark a
Yeah,
question, but it's
that
not
would be
gonna
good.
stop the hospital from treating you as a full code.
Right.
Yes, and let me tell you, when I went in to get my when I had an appendectomy, they wanted me to take this off, and I'm like, okay, but did you guys like actually like look at all these things? They were like, oh, we can't get it off. I'm like, but did we read it, gang? Like, you know.
So just remember on this, if you're answering any of these questions and you check number 1, it means that, you know, you've talked to someone about this, whoever's making your decision, you've actually educated them and given them a copy of this. Please don't check number 1 and never talk to anybody. Yeah, that's just not a good thing. And on this one specifically, the serious illness or frailty, option 3, do not prolong. I mean, that's an extreme situation. So a serious illness, I mean, the classification can be really anything.
I've never heard that expression.
Yeah, so exactly, so I'm just saying, my definition of a serious illness may be very different than yours.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The other two, you know, terminally ill means I have a non-curative illness, well, that's terminal. And the doctor says that it's terminal. And permanently unconscious is obviously, there's no hope, there's no brain waves, or I cannot breathe on my own or something like that.
This one, that it's defined as the patient, the healthcare practitioner would not be surprised if the patient died.
But within 6 months,
So, yeah, again, it could be a car accident.
for
They-
terminal illness,
Yeah,
right,
yeah,
right. So, but typically when somebody's terminal, they're talking hospice care.
Yeah.
You know, they're talking end of life care.
but serious illness is.
Serious illness is
is-
very
is
open.
a wild
Yeah.
card.
Yeah, COVID without intubation is a serious illness, it could be considered so, you know. Being in a rollover accident and having, you know, your lower extremities broken from the waist down is serious. It doesn't mean I want option 3, you know what I mean? Okay? So, going on to page 9, comfort care, regardless of the option, I want, comfort care, which means, and this is kind of a no-brainer to me, I don't know why you would not want comfort care, but it says, I wish to be treated to relieve pain by providing comfort. It might shorten my life, because sometimes a lot of pain medication will shorten your respirations. But the other option is I don't want pain medication, and that doesn't seem to make any sense to me at all. But that's your decision, you know, if you don't want to have any pain medication. If there's anything else that is your belief, whether it's religious or just I don't like the use of a specific drug, don't give me morphine, or I'm allergic to Demerol, or something else, that's when you would put that in that spot.
Yeah.
Okay?
This is where we at.
At any of those other things that, you know, I've had many people say, please don't give my loved one morphine or fentanyl because they're worried about addiction. And I get that and I respect that, but we have a terminal patient. The last thing I'm worried about right now is
Is
that,
addiction.
because I don't know that they're gonna live long enough to be addicted, you know what I mean?
It's not the issue.
No, exactly. Okay? On the next page, 10, is a gift. So if you are a donor and you have that on your license, it's an automatic. The Gift of Life folks will be at the hospital and
Wait for you to come in.
they will.
Waiting for the little cooler.
They will
ready to
wait
go.
for the cooler and I don't know your opinions on it, and I don't need to know your opinions, but I wanna make you aware of something that I wasn't aware of. And if you can't tell, I'm kind of an open book on this. If somebody puts that on their license, it's a legal document.
Mhm.
And so the family member can't change it. So like, if you have a 17-year-old, or let's say 18-year-old legal age. If my son put that on his license and because something, something happened and I couldn't do that because of my own thing, I can't change that. It doesn't matter what it is. So
I have a question.
yeah,
So are you saying like, even if, so I have that organ thing on my license, but if I were to fill out this paper and have something different, does the license supersede or does this paper supersede?
so chances are the license is going to do it.
Okay.
Yeah. I can't guarantee that the license won't do it. Everything that I've heard is when it's on your license, that's it. You get a new
Okay.
license and take it off.
Yeah, no, it's fine. I was just curious. I didn't know if like somebody had it differently on here, if it would supersede or not, so.
I've heard, and again, I'm not a lawyer, that the license will hold on that.
And as you're 24, they'll be sitting at the hospital with the cooler.
Oh, yeah, they're gonna have lots of coolers. Lots of coolers.
Waiting for you.
All the organs.
So, and then that's the one thing, so the thing that I do like about this document versus putting it on my license is that now I can say what that means to me, so maybe, again, I want you to take, my liver and my lungs or something like that, but keep my eyes, I mean, some people feel very strongly one opinion or another, or don't take my skin. It's an organ, it's the largest organ we have, so I like this document because it gives permission where you want that permission, not just use me as a cadaver kind of thing, do you know what I mean? Now, if you wanna be donated, for research, you can also do all of that.
Is that here?
Yep, at the bottom.
Any purpose of law, transplantation, therapy, research.
Okay. Yeah.
I need a copy of this for my husband's mom.
I have several, Barry's got
Oh, yeah,
several.
yeah.
argued
Give them
about
to your
it.
friends. Yeah. So it's easy though, this is not complicated. Is anybody finding this complicated? No.
Just questions or comments.
It's okay. I like questions.
Yeah.
Yep.
Clarification.
I've done on my license, and a friend of mine's mother recently donated her body research, and then what was remaining was given to the funeral home for the cremation
Okay.
jar. So that would be.
That'll do it.
Okay.
Yeah. So again, if you want, let's say, take my organs, but I don't want anything else to go anywhere else, or don't take my organs, I only want this, that's where you put it.
Okay.
Okay? Otherwise, on your license, it just says donor, so it's a free-for-all, what they
Yeah.
want. And sometimes we have very strong opinions on,
And sometimes things aren't available either.
well, and
It can't
sometimes
be
things
used.
aren't good.
It can't be.
Yeah,
used.
I know when my dad passed, he was a donor, but unfortunately, due to illness, there was really nothing that could be used. And he didn't want to do research,
Okay.
so, but that was his decision.
So as a nurse, in a case where things can't be used, you can be put in for research.
Sure.
And that would be.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if something can't be used, you're always, it may just be, I don't know what the option is, for medical education is what I'm thinking. So you could go to, a teaching hospital and they'll do autopsy practice on you,
Okay.
Didn't take it.
Right, which is
You
way
don't
cool.
know it,
That
so.
is so cool.
Right,
Yeah.
well, I mean, they got a lot of
That's fantastic, yeah.
Exactly.
I love Heather's
Yeah.
house.
Well,
My mother talked more, she has a BS in physiology and she did medical autopsy or something like that.
Oh.
In college.
so
How else do you learn?
Yeah.
when I was in nursing school, I was praying that I could go and see an autopsy, but they stopped doing that many years ago, so I was like, dang, I really wanted to see that. So anyway, on page 11, this is where I, as the preparer of this document, will sign my name and date it. This document can be revoked, removed, amended, and resigned at any time. So if you decide, I don't like any of this, I don't even talk to the people that I named here, I don't want any of this, then you will put a big X on it with a date, and then you do another. Okay?
And I like that there's if something happens between you and your spouse is your agent,
Mm-hmm.
it automatically revokes.
Unless you specify otherwise.
Yes,
Yes. I mean, if you're cool with your spouse,
your ex-spouse, yeah.
you can do that. And then under Delaware law, it would go to your next of kin. If you're divorced, it would be your oldest child. If you have
Okay.
children, if you don't have children, it would go to your surviving parents. If it doesn't have that, it would go to your surviving siblings. That's always fun to find. So you will sign that, and then on the back of this, this is the witnesses. We talked about this earlier, some of the ladies on the Zoom weren't on, but your witness needs to, on the first page, it talks who it needs to be. You have to have somebody over 18. They can't be a beneficiary. It can't be, they can't be named in here as your decision maker. It can't be a financial institution, but that's all on page 1 on that. But you will have it witnessed. It says optional notarization. In Delaware, you don't need it notarized.
That's pretty cool.
And then, as I said, when you're done with this beautiful document, you are going to make copies of it, and you're going to give one to your decision maker. You're going to give one to your physician, and you're going to give one to wherever you keep your documents at home. Okay?
Keep one for yourself.
Keep one for yourself. You don't have to share it with your friends, but it's nice to know that your doctor has it, because chances are the doctor's going to be involved at some point, especially if you're in the hospital. Oh yes, I have a copy of this. Somebody may go into the hospital unable to speak for themselves, and the person that is named you're not able to get in touch with them, so at least the doctor will have something. And you try to give it to the people that will have it available should they need to use it. I can't say this enough. When do we need this?
Now.
And when we can't make our own decisions, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we
We
don't
need
know
it
when
now.
that's
Yeah,
gonna
we
be.
need it now.
So don't do this when I'm sitting there on, I just had an accident and I'm looking at my partner saying, trying to, what do you want?
Yeah.
I don't know, I'm in trauma right now. I can't tell you what I want, we're gonna fill out this thing and I can't sign it,
Yes.
So we wanna have these conversations. Listen, I know what I don't want, and sometimes that's okay. And this can be a process. You don't have to figure it all out now. You can do a piece of this and think about this and then do another piece, or you can change this, whatever you need to do. Look at it, fill out a few things, think about this, and come back to it and do it again, and then have it signed, okay? It's not something you have to, okay, everybody fill this out today. This is your decision on your body, on your healthcare.
Is this all in one, or could it be that 3/4 of it I agree with, but I've changed my mind on something else? Can I insert it and no, so it's all, okay.
You
Yeah,
have to redo it.
you have to redo it.
Okay.
Yeah, and And unfortunately, like if you crossed out, the permanently unconscious, well then what am I doing if she's permanently unconscious?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So there is scenarios, just, I have seen a lot of people, whatever is done for terminally ill may not be the same as permanently unconscious, and certainly wouldn't be the same as seriously ill. It will change, okay? But the beautiful thing is, once you get this done, you're gonna have a conversation with that decision maker, because that decision maker is now gonna have questions for you, Sue. But help me understand what that means. So what if this happened? You're gonna tell. So if you don't cover it, and they're your decision maker, it provokes a conversation. So then if you don't quite get it right in here, they'll say, yeah, but I remember having a conversation with Sue, and she was adamant that she didn't want blah, 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 blah. And so I'm confident that you told me, and I don't have to make that decision, because that's what this document is for. It's one thing for me to tell you what I want or don't want, but at the end, if I leave this world, you're still here. I don't want you to have guilt on your decision, right? I don't want you to ever think, oh my God, maybe I should have done this. We had this conversation, and you can say, I know, and that's why I say it's a gift, because I've talked to so many people, and they're like, oh, I know exactly what she wanted. I'm a patient at hospital distribution, ask if I have this and ask for a copy. I can't see what the other divisions have. Is the product I'll take it to her, show you this one I can.
Should you just keep
Oh,
a copy
Well,
with
that's
her?
why you would give a copy to the person who would be in
Well,
charge of that, right?
So I would, yeah, I mean, unfortunately, in our healthcare system, they don't share a lot of information, Judy. So,
I think you just have to
Yeah.
take one with you
Yeah,
everywhere you go.
if you had it, keep it with you and have them copy it and give it back, as long as your primary care doctor, and then if somebody's seeing like an oncologist or a cardiologist, if you feel that they see you more than your primary care doctor, but that's a problem, unfortunately, that everybody has, because nobody communicates. And then if you went from Hopkins to, Mercy, they're not gonna talk to each other either. So you're right.
Anybody else have questions, comments? I don't know what we're looking at on Jackie's screen. We're looking at the ceiling.
So I wanted to make this easy. This is, Heather was saying earlier, the reason that she had done it is that she didn't know how, and everybody makes it sound like it's difficult. I have to call an attorney and spend $500 to make this document. This was as free can get, except for the, 6 pieces of paper that it took. And you can do it at home and just have those things.
Think about it.
Yeah, think about it, talk about it, think about it.
I'm gonna make this more complicated.
Don't.
Not that much more complicated. Is there like this packet is for your health? Is there something for like your actual will? Like
The durable power of attorney is what it's called. So there is apparently there is a durable power of attorney that is on the for Delaware.
okay, alright.
There is a and that's like a .gov site, so in Maryland, maybe it's the same
Yeah,
equivalent.
but I will caution you, because to look at that document looks insane. And you're very different than somebody else. So I could have a house and a couple
Right.
cars and, a beach house, I don't, but all of this stuff. And then I might have 2 adult kids and 2 young kids and this and that. And I mean, your financial part is very, very difficult
Yeah.
to do as far as like delegating who gets what. Now, if you're just trying to do a durable power of attorney to make decisions, you can do that part, but the other part, like the who gets what,
Yeah, that's the
That-
complicated part.
it's not like a simple form. The durable, and you can have two different people. So you can
Okay.
have one person that is your durable power of attorney make your financial decisions, and somebody else do your medical decisions.
Mhm.
The financial decisions would typically have the ability to make, go into your bank, make deposits, make withdrawals
Yeah.
for your benefit. They can open credit, they
Yeah,
can
they can
sign.
take out a loan in it.
They can,
Oh, boy.
yeah, they can sign loans, they can sell your house, I mean, there's a lot of stuff with
Complicated
that.
That's a
things.
lot,
Yeah,
of-
and-
that's a lot of power.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I have no comment on what you do in that, cause I don't know anything about it. So, yeah.
We'll just stick with the health side today.
Yeah, I will stick with that. I would, if you're looking at somebody to do that, I would tend to wanna have an attorney do that.
Yeah.
Do a will, because then it's all one pretty little document. And they will say to you, well, we can do the medical power of attorney with it. You don't need to pay for that if you've done this. They talk about medical power of attorneys and advanced care directives. One's called 5 Wishes, it's like this little book, it's called 5 Wishes. It's the same thing, except it's a little bit, I use the word fluffy, so it'll say, you know, I want soft music and flowers and
it's like detail.
it's,
Well, sort
don't
of.
we all? I mean, we
Yeah.
all
Yes.
want, you know, I mean, we all want, you know, somebody to play with my hair.
Yeah.
That's
Love my
just,
pillows.
well, and it says that kind of stuff, and it's like, but, I mean, that's just normal comfort care to me, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah.
Somebody's not gonna say, well, I'm not fluffing the pillow, because she didn't, now they're gonna say, fluff the pillow. Oh,
Maybe I should write it in the notes.
exactly, exactly. But yeah, the durable is
Yeah,
something,
depending.
most people don't understand that the power of attorney ends when you
die,
die.
then the
And
will
will takes over, that's exactly right. And but again, when you use the power of attorney, you wanna use the medical power of attorney versus a durable, because they are two different documents. And people will say to me, well, we have a will, okay, well, that takes care of your financial stuff and your estate, but nobody's talking about what's happening when you're here. You know? And again, people don't understand, this only applies if I can't make my own decisions. You know, if I'm talking, I'm making my own decisions, you know?
How old are you when an elder lawyer comes into play? Is there an age for that?
Typically it's over 65. I mean, you can do elder estate planning if you want to, you know, in the event of, but usually it's at retirement age, you start
Yeah.
looking at elder law. And then when you're talking about that kind of stuff, they start talking more about trusts because they're trying to protect the estate.
Mhm.
The one thing that we talked about for a hot second is, you know, so let's say that I have a terminal illness as related here, but I'm not actively dying. Well, where does that care happen?
Yeah.
So, you know, everybody you know, if you're over 65, you automatically get Medicare. But Medicare does not pay for where you go to get care.
No.
So it will cover like a skilled nursing facility for rehab, but it doesn't pay for nursing homes.
Yes.
It doesn't pay for home health aides to come out and stay with mom and dad, you know, to be their caregivers.
Yeah.
It doesn't pay for assisted livings. It doesn't pay for any of that. So unless you have insurance for that through a long-term care policy, you have a big nest egg to pay for that, then you're likely going to have to go into Medicaid, which means that anything will have to be spent down into basically nothing
So if you own a home, you will lose it
unless you're married.
Unless you're married.
Right, which is where elder law comes into, because they put it in Miller trusts and protect that. So, yeah,
It used to be 2 years, now
It's a
then
5-year
5
lookout.
years,
It's
so
a
they
I was
five-year
gonna
changed
say,
all that.
because I think my husband's grandmother, before she moved into our apartment, had a thing that like if her husband died, she would lose the house.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So she probably had his trust, but if you applied for Medicaid, if I'm married, then they wouldn't put my husband out on the streets.
Right.
But, and they would literally take 50% of what we had in savings
Yeah.
and spend that down to like $1,450, it's something ridiculous. And that's what would happen.
And then the state would come in and.
The facility,
Oh,
wherever they
would
would
kick
go,
that.
would kick that in.
My 87-year-old mother-in-law, this is what we're doing.
And it's very complicated, because many people say to me, okay, well, we wanna go to a nursing home, great. Does hospice pay for that? Well, hospice doesn't pay for any of that, you know?
Right.
And Medicare doesn't, and so then they say, well, how much does it cost? And a nursing home in Kent County today a nursing home will cost you between $10,000 and $12,000 a month.
Even in Kent
Ooh.
County.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Caroline County, we had yield 7,500, but.
Was that a nursing home or was that assisted living? Yeah, so, yeah, so, you know, go down to the beach and add a little bit more money down there.
Yeah, so,
And nobody has that kind of cash.
no,
You know,
Not a month.
and
No.
no, a month.
we do,
No way.
But
few
yeah,
do.
this
Yeah.
is what is happening.
So that's when Medicaid comes into it. So that's when, going back to the whole purpose of that, my conversation with grants, is that's when you get elder law attorneys. So that's why people start looking at them when they hit retirement age, because now they've got that 401k, they've got the pension, they're trying to protect that for their loved ones, and not lose that if something tragic would happen.
And for our homeowners, we would want them to start thinking about those things, because you're going through all of this work to own your own home. We don't want you to lose it. We don't want you to lose it, somebody to put a big lien against it.
Yeah.
Most of the folks we serve are single women.
Yep.
Just a statistic, most of the folks, we want you guys to think about that.
Protecting that money.
Planning
But they're
ahead.
not elder law.
No,
And that doesn't mean they can't do trusts, things like that.
and some of our folks are married, I mean, Jackie has a husband, and so, yeah, some of our folks are married, and providing for that spouse is also an important thing too.
So there is value. I don't want you to think that doing this nice free document is minimizing the importance of attorneys. It's not at all. It's just making at least this portion very easy.
Right.
Yeah, that's
And-
nice.
And I am working to see if we can find a pro bono association here in Kent County of some sort, or somebody that will do things on a sliding scale so that we can talk about basic wills and stuff like that. I don't know that there is. I'm looking, but I'm hoping to find somebody.
So reach out to Christina Wells in Woodland. I don't think they'll do pro bono work. I don't know if they'll do pro bono work,
Yeah.
but they have done in the past. They'll do a presentation on the top 10 things people do and mistakes that people make in estate planning.
Ooh, I like it.
That's a good one.
Yeah,
And what's the first name?
Christina, Procino, they're down at the beach, Christina Wells in Woodland. And ask them if they would do a presentation on
That would-
mistakes people make.
That would be fantastic. Because, yeah, I mean, this is a subject I'm very interested in, and I send a note to all the homeowners, thank you guys for showing up. And saying, you
Yeah.
know, especially as I'm in the sandwich generation, you see the other two generations are here, you know, and this is something that's very much on the forefront of my mind.
Of my family, so I've got to do something.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So, yeah, reach out to them, I'm sure they'll guide you in the right direction. So, so again, I wanted to make it easy, this is very easy.
Yeah,
It
it
doesn't
is.
mean that it's not gonna have difficult conversations and thought process, but this is not a scary document. It provokes conversation within your family of really what we wanna do, because again, at the end, we're all going out. Let's make sure that what I want is verbalized, and we don't want anybody else to have to make decisions and feel that they did something wrong ever. We just wanna have that conversation. To make it super easy and just talk about it. And then Maria, you have my number, feel
I
free to
do,
give it out to
I do.
anybody, you can
Thank you,
always
guys.
email me or text me and say, hey, somebody had a question about something, if I don't know the answer, Lord knows I'll tell you, I don't know, but I'll find out for you.
Thank you. And yes, and unfortunately Paula couldn't be here tonight, probably because she's working, but we do have someone else who works in, one of our partners works in hospice and she's a CMA.
Oh, okay.
Hospice care.
Gotcha.
Demetrius is new neighbor, so.
Gotcha.
Yes, she's in hospice care for.
Who was it?
Her Paula Jane. She's somewhere at the beach, so
So she works for hospice?
she works for a hospice facility. yeah.
Excellent.
So she's been in hospice care, so I'm sure that, yeah, between, yes, if we have questions, we can certainly reach out to Terry, and I'm sure Ms.
Yeah.
Paul will be
But-
happy to educate us as well.
When you're in hospice care, you become very passionate about this document,
Oh,
because
yeah.
you've seen it without, and that's the hardest. I remember, again, story, I had a lady that was when the old Milford Hospital was here, she was in ICU, breathing machines, and her son, who was younger, like in his 30s, we met and we talked about hospice care, she's dying, you know, and he said, I can't stop the feeding and the breathing, and I was like, okay. Talk to me, what are you
Yeah,
thinking? And he's like, my mom saw a movie on Lifetime where they stopped it and she was still fine, they buried her and she was still alive. And I was like, so she said, never stop, and I'm like, oh, this poor man,
Yeah,
this poor
that's
man,
it.
like, so now he's thinking about a Lifetime movie. And
Nightmares.
I'm like, okay, you're gonna have to take your badge off on this one. So and unfortunately, he just wouldn't, and, you know, so that's the sad part about it.
Yeah.
Because she didn't have comfort. She had tubes, you know, that's not comfort, comfort,
No.
and nobody wants to go that way. So
So,
anyway, so thank you, my friends, I appreciate you.
Thank you.
yeah, thank you.
I learned a lot
So,
today.
friends on screen, do we have any questions or anything?
No,
Dylan?
no,
No?
thank you. This was very informative. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Jackie or Danielle, either one of you?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Danielle, for coming.
You're welcome.
And Miss Jackie, I think she's driving, but she's listening. She is also in healthcare.
Excellent.
So, yes, lots of our folks are, so thank you, everybody, for
And
coming
you guys could have
tonight.
done this yourself, my
I don't know that they're all in this, at the end of life healthcare, they're usually in the prolonging of life healthcare, so.
Thanks, guys, bye.
Bye.